You're the love of your life. Not him. You. I'm going to go into why and how. What made me want to talk about this was seeing this post on Instagram. There are so few artists that I actually find to be mentors. You know what I mean? Most celebrities, I think, are trash, right? Not trash, but you know, just so out of touch. Especially if they're like Nepo babies, right? Unless they recognize they're Nepo babies, like Jane Fonda. But Viola Davis, everything that I've heard her say, I'm like, dang, right? And this post right here, this is one of the most important lessons I think women have to learn. You are the love of your life. And I'm going to get back to this because it's more than just that. I want you to know that I'm going to hook in some hope with this story. Because some women are learning this earlier on. Other women are learning this like in their 50s, 60s, and beyond. Because a lot of women can't learn this because men are in the way. Men are in the way. And men don't believe this. They are not the love of their lives, most of them. Most of them hate themselves so much and also want to exploit women because they can. And so a man who hates himself, who doesn't respect women, and if we don't see ourselves as the love of our lives, and then but put all this pressure on finding him to complete us or whatever, my other half, fuck your other half. You don't need another half. You're whole. You can grow with somebody, but you know? So I don't care if men learn this. At this point, y'all are on your own. Figure this out. Help each other unless, yeah, I'll help you if you pay me, but don't care. But this, women's lives depend on this. We're dying from not operating from this. So I'm going to give an example of a woman who discovered this because of divorce. This was in The Guardian. I think she just came out with a book. And she talks about the sisterhood of divorced women. Now, as y'all know, I know some women are trapped. And they may be trapped for a while. But I would like to think that there is a possible way out. Somehow it just may take a while. Right? But I know this is complicated. Children, the law, money, all kinds of things. Don't want to die, but you're also going to die in the marriage too. So, well, you know. But I'm not here to shame any women who are not willing to leave. I'm here to show something to the women who are kind of on the fence, because I think this is the experience of most women in marriage. I'm not against marriage. I would not be married if I was against marriage. But assume they're going to be like this until they prove otherwise. Because the institution itself and what most men do in marriages, I'm not a fan. I'm not here to break up marriages per se. I'm here to break up unhealthy marriages where the woman is dying in it slowly. So she gives a couple of examples of how when she decided to get divorced, she'd just be like, yeah, I'm getting divorced. I have to get divorced. And women were like, the women who had been divorced already were like, we're the light, okay? Even when she was just talking to this person, the woman was like, yeah, I've been through it myself. It's just one foot in front of the other for a while. And the reason why she said that is because it is usually devastating to most women when they get divorced financially. Financially, they take a much bigger hit than men ever do. Even if the woman makes more money, she's going to get screwed. She's going to get screwed because she's with one of her little homosexuals. I've got puppets now, y'all, and I am going to use them. And then she talks about how she never wanted to get divorced, of course. As a young woman looking at the failed marriages around me, I promised myself I would do better. Yet 7 years into my own marriage, I came to realize that many of us women were happier set free. Staying and trying to make them work was slowly killing us. Did you hear that? She was not in an abusive relationship. She was just in a relationship with a man who forced her to center him. She said it right there. I say this all the time. Slowly killing you. Making you sick. Stressing you the fork out. Having you abandon so many things important to you because men hijack your attention, your everything, and make you get into the sidecar. Because they're on the motorcycle, you're in the sidecar. And you just have to go where he goes. Maybe you get to, do a little this and that, and especially if you're bringing in more money, maybe he'll let you bring in more money, right? But he is going to exploit every single part that he can if he doesn't love the crap out of you and if he feels entitled, which patriarchy sets men up to feel entitled, which is the foundation of their laziness and selfishness and little prince syndrome. Honestly can't figure out if this is a boy or a girl. Don't care. Prince baby. Until my husband and I separated and then started the legal disintegration known as divorce, I hadn't realized that to become a divorcee was to become part of a sisterhood. Because so everywhere she went, there were divorced women who were like, it's gonna be okay. It sucks right now. Hang in there. Like her veterinarian. We told the veterinarian that, she's like divorced and has to split custody of these dogs. She'd start like tearing up and the veterinarian would just ignore it. And then at some point, I was still figuring out where I would live and how I would support myself after years of relying on his much higher income. So even if you marry a man who makes a lot more money than you, he will ruin you because your career will suffer. Because this gives you financial security. But the more financial security he gives you, the less you're going to get from your own career. And the more exhausted you are and just like whatever. You have less incentive to be really good at your job because of this fake, false sense of security from his higher income. But that man's probably going to cheat on you. Like so many of them do. And even if he doesn't, you decide to leave him, now you got some catching up to do. And you probably ain't going to get crap from the whatever legal arrangement unless you had thought about this and talked about this and got it in writing. On her way out of the room, she stopped by the door. I went through the same thing a few years ago. She said, it's hard, but I was so much happier on the other side. This is what women are doing for each other. When they hear that you're in the middle of a divorce, they're like, just hang on. Just hang on. I hear it all the time. I know lots of divorced women, lots of divorced single moms. And this is what they all know. They have the secret is that you're going to be so much better off. But it sucks for a while until you figure out how financially, usually. It's your finances and childcare, usually. And then your whole sense of security is based on that, right? You don't feel secure if all of that is ripped out from under you. So while you're figuring this out, and it may take a while, from my understanding of the women who've been through this, from when I read stories like this, it is so hard. And these are the women who are like, just wait, keep going. You made the right decision. Then she talks about how she went on a trip with one of her mom's friends, and she'd known her whole life, but didn't really talk to her much. Then they got in this long conversation about her husband who left her. It had been devastating for a moment, she explained, but then it was like the clouds open, letting in the kind of weather you forget exists after a long period of storm. Okay? Y'all know, I talk about there's a reason why women never get married after their husbands die. They're like, why would I do that again? No, thank you. I'm finally going to enjoy my life. I'm free. In that Harper's Bazaar piece I wrote, Men Have No Friends, Women Bear the Burden. People I interviewed, as soon as the husbands died, they're waiting for their husbands to die so they can go on a cruise with all their girlfriends. Because he doesn't want to make a sandwich. He doesn't want to take care of himself. Problem is, some of these men are going to kill you. Not like, more like grumpy pants. You got to walk on eggshells around. Your nervous system, your immune system, you're going to get sick. What if the day never comes where you're free? Even when they cheat, like here, she's like, best thing that happened. So whether these men die before us, or they leave us, or you leave them, you will never convince me that that's a bad thing. Never. Because look at this. This is the woman who was like left. Like, I mean, it is traumatizing. It is so cruel. It is so mean what some of these men do. Cheat, have separate families, bring home STIs from their affairs, do so many things, traumatize these women and their families. I will never sign off on that. However, Every single time they do this and they leave, this is what we get. Women being like, oh, yeah, I'm free now. I didn't know that sucked, but hey, I'll never get married again. Why do I need a man to take care of? Notice she didn't say, why do I need a man to take care of me? Women know. The women who've been married, unless they're in a very, 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 very good marriage where they glow up and their life gets easier because of these men who are pouring into them and care about them deeply and take things off their plate instead of just add endless unpaid labor. Though, other than those women, most women in marriages know that men will never take care of you. The only thing they take care of is maybe they'll change your oil, and they won't even do that. All the things they say they're going to do, they don't do. They're unreliable. And then your car explodes because the engine, he didn't check on the thing, and now you owe all this money, and you would have been better off if he had never promised that. Because it actually costs you more money for this man to help, because his help is worthless. And then he also usually makes you feel bad and usually wants like something for it, if you know what I mean. Because they're all hobos or on the hobo spectrum, right? So these men are not going to take care of you. Why do I need a man to take care of? Burn that into your brain, because that is a question you should be asking yourself with most of these men. And do not assume just because they're like really nurturing the first few months that that's who they are. My ex did that. Washing my hair, cooking me food, doing all this stuff. That ended real fast. And then mask came off. She had her friends, her kids, her career. She owned her own home. When I was growing up, no one had ever told me that marriage might not be something to chase after. This is still the case. We're fine. I'm slowly changing the conversation. But that's why I think all these like Love is Blind, all this, I mean, like they've had dating shows for a while, but have you noticed how many there are? And then the bride, say yes to the dress. Everything's like, and then you have all these guys at the New York Times and the Washington Post on the edit, like one old white man. It's always one of them. And they write a whole opinion piece. I've talked about some of them. I've read you. This is like, why would you not get married? Marriage is so great. And then these men have been married like at least twice. God, one of these dudes made his ex-wife convert another religion, goes for a younger woman. I gotta talk about this. And then, cheats on her, I think, with his, assistant, much younger, and then has the audacity to write an opinion piece in the New York Times about how marriage is amazing. I understand why people don't want to get married. And they're always talking to women. They're talking to women. They don't need to say this to men. These men are like, rah, 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 rah. Sorry, the red pill dudes are like, no, the 50-50 table. If a man wants to get married, he's gay. No, all this nonsense. It doesn't even make sense. But those men want marriage. They want it. They're just saying all that stuff because they make a fortune. Like, that's why Pearl or whatever her name does that. She doesn't even believe that stuff. Those men, I actually do believe that they believe that stuff in terms of them being the prize, but they absolutely will get married. And the only way they won't is if they have a woman who will do all of the marriage things for them, and then they won't get married. But they absolutely believe that men need, but they know men need women. But they're out here talking about walls. They hit the wall. They're the wall. I know y'all may be a little frightened by these little puppets. I just got them. Anthony, it was his idea. He was like, have you ever thought about puppets? I was like, yes, I've been thinking about that for a while. And they have these in France all over. I got them for $1. Anyway, more puppets to come. I'm going to have so much fun with these. But anyway, just like the instruments, puppets were Anthony's idea too. See, I give credit where credit is due. Men never do that. Well, some men do. But if men who follow me, this is what you should be doing. If you don't do this, give credit to people who give you the ideas, right? Like, even if you're not a journalist. When I told my mother, who'd been married multiple times, that I was thinking about divorcing, we had our first honest conversation, I swear. Moms will lie about marriage, lie to themselves, lie to us, and they finally had this conversation. I'm here for it. About her marriages. For years it had been an offhand joke that she'd been in so many failed marriages, but her first husband died, leaving her a widow in her early 20s. My father, her second husband, had stopped providing for us financially when I was a toddler. I don't even know what that means. Was he a little hobo? Was he a hobo? Was he still at home? Just decided not to work one day? He was like, never mind, I'm just going to watch TV. Like, what did he do? Did he leave and have an affair and then just not pay child support? I don't know what this means. But this makes perfect sense how she ended up with a man. I'm not saying that this will always lead to this, but if your dad's trash, chances are you're going to end up with trash. Because you don't know that that's not cool, right? Unless you do a lot of work on yourself and you see healthy examples elsewhere, you don't even know. I didn't know. I thought me being the parent to a man, even when I'm literally the child, is normal. No. At least as a single mother, she had one fewer person to take care of. Another husband had left. Okay, so I guess there were two. Either way, he left. But like I say all the time, one less person to take care of. A king baby is literally worse than actual baby. It's an insult to babies. I'm sorry I even used that term, but I don't know what else to call it. And I just like saying, I like saying it. I was left feeling like the mistake wasn't getting divorced, but marrying in the first place. Now, my mutual Therese, you probably follow her. I tag her a lot. I'm going to go live with her sometime in the near future. We have so much to talk about. But she said this right here. This is what so many women feel. The mistake was not the divorce. The mistake was not the end of the marriage. The mistake was ever marrying this person to begin with, or getting married at all. A lot of women realize they just don't want to get married. You know, nearly 70% of divorces are initiated by women. One Kingston University study has what is that? Oh, charted how people felt before and after a major life event, found that women who get divorced aren't just happy with their choice. Here we go. But happier than they've been on average throughout their lives. Did y'all hear that? They're not just happier after the divorce, like, oh, finally, that thing's over. This tumultuous experience where we weren't getting along, we finally got divorced. No, they're happier after their divorce than they were through their whole life. Because when they come out of the other end of a divorce, a lot of these women have learned in one of the hardest ways possible by men hijacking their lives. Maybe 5, 10, 15, 20, 25 years, right? They don't even know who they are because these men have forced them to center them. They have not done the things they love because these men have forced them to go on their adventure in the sidecar, and those men would never do the same for her. And so when they come out of these divorces, they're like, I don't want anything to do with men. Whereas before the divorce, they were married, which didn't work out well for them. But even before that, they were dating men. So those of you who are like, you know what, I'm just, like I've told y'all before, during my 20s and first half of my 30s, with the exception of some, hookups, I had 12 years of celibacy. No dates, nothing. I wanted nothing to do with them. And then I tried to date for a while, for a few months, and I'll go back. Because every time I dipped my toe into the dating pool, shark about my foot off. And I'm in the ICU for, whatever, like, tired of that metaphor. So that is why they're happier after divorce, because this is when they're like, I don't even want to date. I don't care. This is not my priority. Maybe they still go on dates, but it's not their priority to be coupled with a man, to find their partner, find their person. Because instead they find their sisterhood, they find their community. And those people actually show up for them, unlike any of these men. At one point during our separation, my now former spouse told me that I was acting selfishly. He meant it as an insult. It made me feel like I was doing the right thing. If they call you selfish, you're on the right track. After my marriage ended, I found myself newly focused on prioritizing things that really mattered to me. Here we go. Making space for friends. Creativity. I will do a whole video on that, y'all. There are so many brilliant women out there who have amazing stories to tell, books to write, paintings to do, sculptures, dances, all kinds of just creativity it's in everything, right? Like building a house is creative. Like we have so much creativity and they force us to put it all into children. You can do that too. But when you have to take care of a man and kids, but even just a man, and if you're not even taking care of him, literally just having to like default to this dude and his hobbies and what he wants to do and all that stuff, there's no room for this. This is the first thing that goes. Sometimes women will hang on to the relationship with friends, but creativity is almost always the first thing to go. And as somebody who is who has prioritized my creativity for the last 2 decades, nobody will take this from me. I will not let anyone take this from me. I lost it for 1 year when I dated that man, and it was one of the worst years of my life, not just from dating him, but from losing this. My creativity. I was too tired. I was too exhausted. I couldn't do anything. I couldn't create anything. I didn't write a word for a year. The creativity and simple things that brought me joy, like taking a long walk outside or playing music early in the morning. There it is. When he'd been asleep. That's the thing. These men make us center everything around them. Maybe you're like, maybe you are not an early riser, but you've been forced to be an early riser because this man won't do anything. Maybe you actually love sleeping until 9, 10, but you just, I'm an early riser. Maybe you're not. Women don't even know who they are in marriages like this. They don't even know who they are. They don't even get a chance to see who they are because these men are so exhausting. And the men assume we're going to default to them. They don't even question it. And this is how women lose themselves. For years, I had put him ahead of myself. Now, some of this is in us. Oh, this is in me. This is in me. I catch myself being like, just kind of, and then, whoa, I don't want to do that. Why would I do that? And it's not like I'm being forced to do it, even asked to do it. So even when there is not a man trying to force you to center him, it's coming. The call's coming from inside the house. That's why. And then I'm saying this as somebody who, was celibate for so long and so used to centering myself. If I catch myself doing this, somebody who's really good at centering myself instead of a man, I'm codependent as hell. But I'm telling you, that patriarchal indoctrination, it's there. It is laying. It's like like when I was in history, they always called Russia the sleeping giant or whatever. There was like, Russia. Don't ever understate Russia. The patriarchy is Russia. Even if you don't, whatever. I don't even care. God, this probably doesn't even make any sense anymore. Can you tell I'm a Gen Xer? God, swear to God, every movie, Rocky IV, Spies Like Us, Russia. I don't care about. Oh my God, did I wake you up? He's like, are you talking about Cold War stuff again? And then I realized that we're the evil ones. After all that. Anyway, totally lost track. For years I didn't let myself get upset about things that I knew he wouldn't change. I didn't consider travel, which would keep me away from home for too long, even when I wanted to go. So she's not just talking about travel. Like travel, yay, see no place. She's literally talking about going home. I'm assuming that this is not an international couple. This is another reason why please do not date a man living in another country. He's like, oh my God, Italian men are like so romantic. I think I'm going to meet an Italian man and move to Italy. No! French man, oh my God, this one. Please, 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 please. Just because it has worked out well for me, I did not move him for him. Remember, I moved him for me and then I met him, by the way. But I am telling you, this right here, these men will not budget in you going home. They will, and especially if you have kids, you gotta sign permissions, you're stuck. You are stuck. I'm sorry, I will never stop talking about this. Every day in these Facebook groups, another story of a woman like, I'm trapped, he left, I miss my family, I can't leave this country. I'm going to read some of them sometimes, anonymously. I want y'all to understand this. Even if you move to another state, these men, you will not see your family. You will not see the people you love because traveling just for fun, that's like an extra. Going and seeing your family, it will not be a priority. It will not be a priority of it. And if he controls the purse strings, say bye-bye. Your sister who you're so close to or your mom or whoever, Not anymore. Living far away from family for a man is dangerous and it's tragic. And usually you're stuck near his mom. She's probably a toxic boy mom. Anyway, God, I don't want to get too off course. Even when I wanted to go and I didn't even let myself consider whether I wanted children. I forgot about this part. Since I knew my husband did not. Y'all know how many stories I've covered like this? John Mulaney, ring a bell? I haven't actually covered him yet. And I know that his ex-wife is coming out with a book. Can't wait to read that. Apparently it's not her like talking trash about him. But John Hamm, who else? This happens all the time. Women don't even get to ask themselves if they really want kids. Maybe they never did, but they don't even get to ask. Because if he doesn't want kids, you ain't having kids. Now, usually it's the men who baby trap women, okay? That is usually what's happening. Or the women want kids, and then the man is trash, and doesn't take care of them, and he cheats on her or leaves her anyway, so she's a single mom. But some women don't even get to ask that question because men are like, I don't want to have kids. And they'll still, like, convince you that it'll all be okay. And then you're like, oh, no wonder he doesn't want a kid because he's the kid. Little prince doesn't want competition. For me, marriage was like getting onto a long highway and forgetting that other roads existed. Once I considered leaving, all I saw were off ramps and detours I could have taken along the way. Yeah, you don't want it like, I try not to regret anything. But you know, this is how you start seeing things and you're like, wow, something was pushing me to get off this dumb highway all along. Oh, why didn't I pay attention? Like, I don't really regret things, but God, it's hard to not be frustrated with yourself for having ignored all of that. In a 2018 study, researchers found that women often experience a 27% decline in household income after separation and a greater risk of poverty. And this is why so many women stay with these men. This is a very real fear. I'm never going to like try to downplay this, okay? I understand that this is why a lot of women don't leave. I just want women to consider that despite that, and that where men do have a 10% increase in their standard of living. So even though men see a 10% increase in their standard of living, and then even though when they found that both men and women post-separation, women are still financially worse, yet we are still happier. Women I know who had left relationships that no longer worked for them didn't hesitate in assuring me that I was doing the right thing. Now, again, I know that, nobody wants to be thrown, no one wants to be homeless, unhoused. And if that's the only option, I understand. Staying may make more sense. I'm making this whole thing hoping that you will talk to people. Figure out how other women did it. Because women are so, I'm telling you, every time, resource after resource after resource, these women who've been through it, some of them don't even live here anymore, and they're still in these groups advising what to do. This is what I did. I'm telling you, it's these women in the Facebook groups who are saving these other women in the Facebook group. Because so many have been through it, and they know that they need each other to get through it. So I'm just saying, just talk to people. Talk to people. Maybe there's a way if you want out. Also, I understand there may not be a way out. So then she talks about this couple that she met in the restaurant who were like celebrating. And then she found out that they were actually celebrating this woman getting a divorce. And then, he said, let me ask you this. He said, would you get married again? Because she was like, I just got divorced too. So they're having this like divorce talk, right? This man and woman who'd been divorced, plus her, who just had gone through one. I wasn't sure. I wanted a long-term relationship, but didn't know what I would get out of a legal. She's a definite no, he said. And then leaned in playfully towards the woman's shoulder. I suddenly realized that the two of them were in love. But I would, he said. They looked into each other's eyes and smiled. This seemed to be how it plays out for men and women. He wants to get married, and she doesn't. She took the lesson. A Pew Research survey found that a majority of divorced women aren't sure they want to remarry. Most men do. Shocker, right? Recently, I read an article about older women who refused to marry long-term partners again for the first time. One of them got engaged to her partner and even wears a ring, but they've been engaged for 15 years. Maybe that's the ultimate goal. I think the fiance is a much better word for the significant other than boyfriend anyway. So I actually know someone doing this right now. Never going to get married. Never getting married again. She's not doing it, but she's engaged. And she is planning on staying engaged for the rest of her life. She's never going to get married again. You know what I mean? Like, there's a reason why women don't want to do this. They do not want to be legally tied to these dudes. They want to be able to walk away at any moment. The problem is that a lot of women, if there's kids involved, and if you don't have your own life, that is very hard to do. Because then these men get wife privileges with no commitment and no financial security. So this gets really tricky. You know, a lot of women don't want to ever get married again. But don't you, like, bring in your little hobo, okay? Because this man is going to ruin you just as much as that ex-husband did. Except he's going to take all your money and you got nothing. No fun. Like, you know what we do? We do this. A lot of women are like, I'm never getting married. Maybe get ever or ever again, and then have a hobo living in their house for 10 years. Seriously, don't live with these men if you're not going to get married to them. And even if you are, if you have gotten burned so bad and you don't want to get married again, and then I highly suggest not living together. Because that man will just, he's going to be a hobo. Most of them are hobos. They're all on the hobo spectrum. Now let's get back to Viola. I wish I could play this for y'all, but I'll get a copyright violation. So I took screenshots. So what I tell my daughter is, Genesis, you are the love of your life. Have a radical love affair. Ah, I love that. This is what, I want this to be the message to all women, but especially younger women, so that you don't get derailed by men. Radical love affair with yourself, to be in touch with your inner voice. To really be aware when friendships come in and out of your life. What you like, what you don't like, what's crossing the boundaries. I'm sorry, y'all, this would sound so much better coming out of her mouth. It sounded so good. I feel silly doing this, but I can't play it. I don't want to get demonetized. What's making you feel bad, but not feel bad, and you honor that. That is the seed where everything grows. I love that. And she talked about how when you don't do this, this is the way you think. If I have to be small in order to build up a relationship, which is what men make us do, y'all, not all of them, but most, I'll make myself small. If I have to sacrifice my needs for others, that's a big one for women. We're considered stronger when we sacrifice our needs. And she's basically like, don't do that. Don't do that. Because again, this relationship with yourself and getting to know yourself and what feels good, what doesn't feel good, what feels right, what you don't like, when, you know, really, so that you know that voice, right? So that you don't gaslight yourself all the time. And you learn a lot of this through community, which is why this is important in building community. Because you are the love of your life. You and you alone. Relationships with men are so high stakes. Work on this within your friendship and your community before you mess with men. And those men who broke your heart, maybe they set you free. Free to find who you are, because they are not sucking the life out of you anymore like little vampires riding on your coattails like little hobos, or demanding all your energy and entitlement to everything because they're baby. If they're not making your life better, they're making it worse and they're killing you. Et voila. Do y'all like these dolls? I have like a bunch. Also, I just started my Patreon. If you want to see the full version of this, every once in a while I'm going to do like a special cut for like a little bit more personal. If you want to see that version, that's on the maybe we should hang out sometime tier on my Patreon, the highest one, because certain details are not meant for public consumption. So thank you for watching. Comment, share, like, and join my Patreon even if you can't afford it, because I will update things over there every once in a while, like life updates, and even share pictures and stuff like that. I don't really like sharing much on Instagram anymore, so I think I'm going to share like more on Patreon, and then the more like way more personal stuff and the paid tiers and stuff. But I just like sharing stuff. I like sharing stuff, but there's no incentive to do that on Instagram. They don't pay me. I don't even know most of the people who follow me. And I have a lot of men who follow me and then want to be my sugar daddy. I'm like, yeah, you can't afford me. No thanks. Anyway, even if I wasn't repulsed by you and married. So check out my Patreon. The links are in my bio and everything. Thank you for being here. And thank you for listening. Et voila.